Willkommen to Bad Shit, a frank and funny look at the mental illness.
Valve will touch on several illnesses. Batshit is focused on those along the spectrum of bipolar disorders. I'm your host, Adam.
I am your other host, Brad.
And we're both bipolar. So strap in and let's see how batshit we really are.
Spoiler alert, pretty damn bad shit.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
For anyone listening and not watching, we're not European. We're not Slavic. I know that amazing Germanish accent we just did.
Wasn't that just amazing?
It was.
It was spot. You would have thought we were from Munich.
We're from Munich. Was that? Yeah, I guess we got a German. I don't know.
I
what
don't
that
know.
was.
I don't know.
What are we talking about?
Bipolar blackouts.
Bipolar. This is memory gaps. For you folks who are unfamiliar with that term, as I was unfamiliar with that term, bipolar blackout.
Yeah, I just came across that recently, reading a lot about memory and bipolar, because everybody we've talked to about bipolar, we were recently, John from Emo Dojo interviewed us for the podcast Jive, and he talked about memory loss.
Yeah.
That he'd experienced. And it's not something that comes up in the diagnostic criteria for bipolar.
Yeah.
It's not something that typically when you look up videos about bipolar or you're reading articles about bipolar, it doesn't come up unless you specifically search for bipolar and memory problems or memory loss. And I started doing that and reading a lot about it. And it's apparently pretty common. And that's one of the terms for it is bipolar blackouts.
Mm. Now, do you experience more bipolar blackouts during your manic phases or your depressive phases?
More during my manic phases.
Really? Okay.
I do, during depressive phases, have some memory gaps. Mm-hmm. But when you're depressed, half of what you're doing is just like laying around on the couch all day. So it's like...
Not much to think about.
Yeah, exactly. It's
true.
like, oh, I forgot what happened between 1 and 2, but I know I didn't get off the couch.
Nothing big must have happened during 1 and 2.
Yeah, whereas when you're manic, it's just like suddenly you find yourself at Target and you're like, when did I get here?
Yeah.
What the fuck did I do the rest of
the day? What am I supposed to be buying right now?
Yeah.
It's funny. So I'm an actor, so... memorization is important, like memorizing lines and that type of thing, forming a concrete character and remembering what their journey has been in order to better portray them on screen. Art shit. So I'm actually really good at memorizing lines, but at the same time, I have these gaps in my memory, and I know what I was doing. Like you were saying. You remember being on the couch from 1 to 2, but there's no details for me. There's none.
Yeah.
It's like there might be a flash of a detail for me, and I don't 100% know why. And the fact that it's associated with bipolar is in and of itself, I don't want to say it's comforting, because it's not comforting, but to be able to put a label on it,
right,
is good,
yeah.
or feels good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I use the example of just like finding myself at Target. Mm-hmm. It's weird because I always say it's like when you drive to the same office every day, mm-hmm. and you get to the point where you just zone out on the drive and you don't remember the drive,
right?
And you're like, oh, I'm at work. That it feels like that to me. Like I don't get freaked out that I'm at Target. I'm not like, oh my God, I thought I was at home.
Right, exactly.
Like I'll just be shopping and then I'm like, I stop and I go, when did I get here?
Yeah.
What else did I do today?
Yeah, because, that's one thing I will say about the idea of like bipolar blackouts. Because when I think of the term blackout, I think of kind of like you're time traveling.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just
that
like
you just lost time.
You lost time. I don't feel like with bipolar, when you have a bipolar blackout, that you're losing time?
Well, what I've read is that because of all the chemical mumbo jumbo that's going on in your brain, that's the technical term, by the way.
Chemistry.
Mumbo jumbo.
Mumbo jumbo.
When you're in a manic and depressed state, that what it is that your brain can't form memories sometimes.
Well, yeah. Yes. Keep going. Sorry. Keep going.
So it's not that you black out,
right?
And which is why you don't typically freak out immediately when you find yourself at Target or whatever. It's that your brain just was incapable of forming memories throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I talked to my psychologist about this. I was in therapy and I was mentioning how like I don't have a lot of memories from childhood. I know I had a childhood. I can remember, like where I went to school and who some of my friends were, but I don't have a lot of specific memories from childhood. Now, meanwhile, I'll sit with Mandy on the couch and she'll be like, I remember when I was 16, I went to this basketball camp, and I'm like, wow, I don't have any details
I'm
like
the same
that.
way. There's very little I remember from my childhood, and then especially high school.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because I'm from East Tennessee. It's not a big place where I'm from, and I go back and I'll run into somebody I went to high school with,
They'll
and
be
they'll
like,
start
"Remember
ticking
that?"
off. Yeah, they'll start ticking off all this shit, and I'm like, I don't remember anything you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, so I bring up talking to my psychologist about it because he mentioned how if you don't have a strong emotional reaction to an event, sometimes it's harder to remember it because your brain's like, well, I don't have room for that. It obviously was not important. It didn't elicit a certain reaction from you, so therefore it's not that important. Chuck it to the side. Don't form a lot of...
So I had no emotional attachment to anything during high school.
Well,
there was 4 years where I was like,
But see, here's the thing for me.
I like that.
I will say this. Like, I spent a lot of my childhood in what I would consider a depressive state, in that I was isolating. I was reading for extended periods of time. I didn't have a lot of close friends. Even though I was physically active, like that didn't form a lot of community for me. So I can understand that. I can understand the idea that it's like, who cares about grade school? I don't remember anything about grade school because I didn't form any relationships then. I didn't have any major moments in my life that triggered. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know 100% if that's what's going on with me. I did think that was an interesting perspective and an interesting thing to consider.
Yeah.
Because they say that, I don't remember where I read this. It's like we are able to have 100 people in our lives at a time. Like in terms of being able to kind of keep track of and care about and interact with about 100 people at a time, right? And so that takes in consideration your family, your friends, but also your coworkers, right? It takes in consideration ancillary people that you might have in your life. Like, let's say you're taking a dance class and the teacher is there, or there's other people in your classroom. So that's what you can process at a time. And then after that point, like you've kind of reached critical mass and you're not going to be as likely to form relationships without sacrificing other ones.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I read that somewhere. I'm like, again, I'm not touting that as science. I just think that's a really interesting way of looking at it. Because I know when I form new friendships, old friendships tend to fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Right? And
you only have so much time in a week.
Right. And you can make the argument that, like, well, I have more in common with these new friends than these old friends because new Adam is friends with these new people who are into new things. Right?
Yeah.
But I don't 100% buy that because you made an emotional connection with this person, these friends of yours from high school, college, before time. You can't tell me that all of that connectivity is just gone, right?
Yeah. I think that's one of those things when people will talk about like, oh, I haven't talked to this friend in years and we just picked up right where we left off.
Right.
It's interesting. It is interesting. I mean, we do only have the capacity. I would very much agree with that too. I would even shrink it. I think 100 is big.
Well, I say 100 because those aren't all close relationships.
Right. That includes people you work with.
Right. Like at my office right now, I have 20 people that I work with.
Yeah.
And that's 20 people on the list. And it's not because I'm close with any of them. It's because I got to be like, oh, right. Yeah. Edwin's got a daughter who's in high school. Oh, and then, Jake is a big fan of scotch and he drinks, you know what I mean? Like it's those things, those little tidbits that you remember about people because they're actively in your life.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder, because there's also talk about memory gaps occurring when trauma occurs. right?
Yeah.
Like something traumatic happens to you, and your brain protects you. Is the way of putting it.
Lauren Malisi talked about that on our borderline personality disorder episode.
Right.
Some of the trauma she experienced, she's blocked out years.
Right, because it's protecting. She's protecting herself. Her brain is doing the work to protect her.
And I wonder if it's like that with us in a way, is that there's a part of you, I always say that I feel like being manic is like a different personality has come out.
Right.
And it's not multiple personality disorder.
No.
Any of you who are listening and don't have bipolar, that's not what's going on.
No.
But that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
To a great extent.
Yeah, because there's like two different parts of you.
Yeah. And so I wonder, you're doing all this crazy, horrible shit while you're manic. And I wonder if there's a part of your brain that does that, is like as a protective mechanism. It's like, oh, this is a form of trauma. Let's just not remember this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and you know what else is messed up about that is everyone's definition of trauma is different.
Right.
Right. Because you sit there and you're like, Adam, you can't remember your childhood. What happened to you in your childhood?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Should we do hypnotherapy?
Exactly. They're like really dive deep. I don't think I had that traumatic a childhood.
Yeah.
At least what I think of as a traumatic childhood, because you hear horror stories. Like I was in high school when the whole Catholic priest touching altar boys thing really hit the newspapers. Like, do you remember that? How like the popes and the Roman Catholic Church were just kind of shuffling priests around and like all that crazy crap. And I'm sitting there going, God, that must have been so traumatic for those altar boys. And I'm going, well, I know that didn't happen to me, but that's what I associate with trauma. I don't associate whatever happened to me as trauma.
Right.
And that...
When it's all relative.
Right, and that's
like,
just
it. We get in this kind of comparative game.
Right, it's yes.
I think we talked about this when we were on the Jive podcast with John from Emo Dojo. But this idea that it's like, oh, I broke my leg, but that guy over there had a leg amputated. And then that guy lost 2 legs to a landmine in Afghanistan.
Right.
I shouldn't complain about my broken leg.
Right.
And it's like, but you're still in miserable pain and can't walk.
Yeah. And you start normalizing it.
Yeah.
You normalize it. The number of people I met when I was in like college that were like, oh, I had a job in high school. I started working when I was like 17 and it was just to make some extra money so I could go to the movies and buy a new shirt or whatever. And I was like, I started caddying at the age of 10 and I've worked ever since in some facet or another. And they were like, what? Why would you, what? Were you were you being forced to by your parents? Like, did you have to pay them? Like, no. It's just different life experience, different expectation, different reality.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same idea with this trauma. It's like, well, I mean, that wasn't trauma to me, working like that. Or maybe it was? I don't know. See, that's just it, right? Like, I can't pinpoint what is causing me not to remember this stuff.
Yeah, it's so difficult. And there's also a concept when you talk about trauma that was introduced to me recently, is that you can deal with the event. Mm-hmm. Right? You can be like, I'm okay with that event.
No,
whatever
car
caused
accident,
the trauma.
whatever. Yeah.
But the trauma itself still exists in your brain.
Oh. Oh, like kind of like a residual, okay.
Yeah, like a scar.
A
basically.
Scar. There you go. Scar. That's a good way to put it.
It's like it heals.
Yeah.
But the scar is still there.
Yeah.
But
like when your dog pees on the carpet, you can clean up the pee.
But it still smells
like pee. Yeah,
it still smells. I don't know why I thought of this. There was this girl once, just talking about smells.
Oh no!
Who, I got in her car one day. Very, very, very pretty girl, and we were kind of flirting and stuff. And I got in her car, and I was like, "Did you eat Crystal burgers today?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, smells like onions. And then I was like, oh shit, it's her.
Yeah. I've definitely experienced, I've definitely been in cars like that.
Yeah. It was like, oh, but you're so hot.
You smell like onions.
Anyway, just a tangent on smells.
Yeah.
The
But
more you know.
that's interesting about the idea of the trauma causing a scar, which makes complete sense if you frame it in what we consider to be drastic trauma. Like, for
Right.
instance, going back to the whole priest altar boy situation, like, clearly when it comes to sexual relationships, those kids had crazy trauma that I'm sure lasted into their adulthood. Probably they're still
Right.
dealing
Even if
with.
they dealt with the event.
Right, with the event of,
itself.
it doesn't matter. There's the residual effect of the traumatic event.
Yeah.
It's like, you mentioned at one point, I can't remember what episode it was on. Oh, it was Maggie Gwynn, the postpartum episode. You talked about how your wife was in a car accident.
Yeah.
And to this day, and like I don't know, but I assume Shannon's not suffering from any lingering physical damage from that car accident.
No.
But she still has visceral reactions when she's in a car because she still has that scarred, that trauma scar.
Yeah.
Trauma scar.
Yeah.
No, we should make a T-shirt. Trauma
scar.
I have a trauma scar.
That sounds like a band.
Oh,
Trauma Scar.
We should start a punk band called Trauma Scar. I think Brad would look great with a mohawk. I think that'd be good. Yeah. Get the sleeveless denim fucking vest. Oh, gross. Hey, friends. Brad and I started Batshit because we needed someone to talk to about our bipolar. So when looking for a sponsor, BetterHelp was the obvious choice. BetterHelp provides access to therapists via text, via Zoom, via email, via phone call, 24 hours, 7 days a week. I don't need to tell anyone how broken the American healthcare system is, especially when it comes to mental illness. But the beautiful thing about BetterHelp is that they'll work with you. Go to www.betterhelp.com/batshit. You'll get 10% off for the first month, and you'll get someone to talk to right now. If you need to talk to someone, do it. Please. We love you.
Thanks for listening. Help us continue the conversation. Leave us a comment with your thoughts, experiences, or questions about mental health. Every opinion and viewpoint is valid. Just don't be a dick.
Yeah, I was talking to someone recently about, dealing with all that shit with my mother, right? And that was something that they had pointed out to me that I hadn't thought about before, is I was like, I finally dealt with that. And they were like, yeah, but the trauma's still there. And you have to deal with the trauma.
Right. It's not gone.
Yeah.
It's not. And
that's...
So, now let me ask you this, okay? You go to therapy.
Yeah.
Let's say you really dive into your issues with your mother, right? And the birth, the event, all of it.
Yeah, which I have.
Which you have. So, but you still have that trauma, even if you're addressing the trauma.
Yeah, and I finally feel like I got past the event. I don't think that way anymore.
Right.
Like, I feel like I healed from it. But there's still a lot of lingering things in my personality over it.
Right.
And
additional therapy. Do you think you can treat some of that with additional therapy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
There are therapists who specialize in trauma and trauma response.
Right.
And there are certain types of therapies. It's interesting getting into the different type of therapy. You think of therapy as just this one-size-fits-all thing, and it's not.
It's just like a therapist, right? Like, you may not jive with a certain type of therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebecca Stevens talked about that when she was on. Is that as a therapist, sometimes she and a client don't jive.
Yeah.
And they need to find another therapist.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah. But it's, I love titling it a trauma scar. Because I have scars on my body that, I've gotten from various injuries over the years. They've never fully gone away. They won't.
Yeah.
They won't ever go away. Doesn't matter how much, how well I healed. It doesn't matter how much vitamin E I rub on the scar. You know what I mean? It's still there. It's still a part of me. It still marks me as someone who has gone through something. And it can be drastic. It can be minor, but it still leaves a scar. It still leaves it, but it can also go the other way. Like, there are people, I'm sure, in your life that have left their own scar on you in a positive light. Do you know what I mean? Like,
there's a Chuck Palahniuk quote that I love, and I'll probably butcher it here, but it's basically like we remember pain so much easier than we remember happiness, because there's no scar for there's no scar for sweetness.
Oh, that's interesting.
Something like that.
A scar for sweetness. I like
Yeah.
that. But at the same time, that being said, like there's that old adage of like you always remember your first love, right? Because there is that chemical reaction in your brain that triggers when you meet someone who you're really attracted to or you really click with or whatever.
And then they fuck you up.
And of course, yeah, well, maybe they fuck you up, but or you may have fucked them up, but you still remember them. I still remember like my first love.
My first love was kindergarten.
Wow, kindergarten.
I'm gonna admit this. I don't know if you listen. Joni.
Oh, Joni, that's so cute.
Yeah, we played doctor in kindergarten.
Oh boy.
Not like
Okay,
doctor.
all right.
But just like the stethoscopes.
I get it.
Stethoscopes
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah.
And I immediately had a crush on her.
Aw.
And I was such a chicken shit about it. I remember I wrote her a love note at one point, and like I don't know, in like 5th grade or something.
Yeah.
And didn't sign it and put it in her desk, and she thought somebody else wrote it, and I just didn't say anything.
Oh, Brad. No, Brad.
Little kid Brad.
Oh, that's sad. My first love was Christine. I remember Christine. This was in high school, and it was. I thought she was so beautiful. Like, and I'd never talked with a girl where we clicked, and our sense of humor was very similar, and like our outlook on life and our views of certain things, like it just clicked. And I fucked that up royally. Like royally fucked that up. But like I will never forget Christine. Now, that being said, since Christine, I've dated a number of women. A number of women. And this is awful to say. I can't put events to some of them.
I can't remember some of them.
Yeah.
Like if I sat down and I actively try to remember, like, okay, let me go through my series of like chicks I dated. I'm always like, I know there was a girl around this point,
right?
And I don't remember who they are,
right? And that has nothing to do with how awesome these people were, because clearly, I mean, they dated us. They must have been pretty awesome. Yeah. No, but yeah, it's they're like. I don't know. And I laughed because I've talked with like the older generation, like my grandfather is a great example. I've mentioned this before. He came back from the war, met my grandmother at a Lindy Hop, got married. Yeah. And like those are the people he remembers, these people, because I don't know if it's because there weren't many, or he had this chemical reaction based off of my grandmother, and therefore, boom, that's it. I got it. Locked it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we have had these chemical reactions several times. Some have fired. Obviously, they burn brighter than others. Like you remember Joni, but maybe you don't remember a couple of girls in your 20s or your late teens. You know?
Yeah.
And that's really painful to say for me, because again, this is the shame you feel with the disease. Is like, I am not a bad person. I didn't actively choose to like forget this woman. Yeah. I wasn't like trying to hit it and quit it, moving on, just another name and notch in the bed.
Well, but that's exactly the thing, is you were probably manic.
Yeah.
Because you get the hypersexuality, you're extra charming. Like that's one of the things, I mean, just to be blunt, like I try sometimes, I'll be like, can I think of every woman I've ever slept with?
Sure.
And I can't.
No.
Because some of them are just gone. They're not in my head.
Yeah.
They're just not in my head.
And that does not speak to you, the women we can't remember. And
maybe some of them.
Well, maybe some. But it doesn't matter. You'll never know which ones you are, because we'll never say all your names.
Yeah, because we won't remember them.
Because we don't know them. Oh, my God. We are bad people.
Oh,
no, we're not bad people. We're not bad people.
It's a symptom.
It's a symptom.
We're sick.
Damn it.
And it's a symptom.
God damn it. I've never hurt anyone. Like I've never actively,
physically hurt.
Obviously that, but I have also never actively people have that whole idea.
I only hurt lamps.
Didn't we have someone write in that was like, I hate lamps, and I was like,
yeah.
break the lamp. Yeah, go for it.
Hire me.
Yeah.
I'll take care of your lamps.
But no, it's like I've never sought out, like, you know how you have there are guys, I knew them in college that were like, I'm just gonna sleep with, tonight I don't care who I sleep with, I'm gonna sleep with that person.
Yeah.
And like they didn't care. They didn't care. I will say this, I never not cared.
Yeah, when I'm manic, it's always still looking for a connection.
Yes, it's always a connection. It's always trying to be with someone, to find someone who understands you in that moment, who's going to be on your level.
Right.
Like it's
and the kind of the movie logic that you have when you're manic.
Sure.
Is it's like even if you're not feeling like they don't have the same sense of humor as you or whatever, there's still this thing in your mind where it's like, well, when we sleep together, it may be magical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the areas where the memory gaps become the most frightening, is that you sleep with people and you don't remember it.
Yeah, that's fucking terrifying.
While you're manic.
It's fucking terrifying.
And as terrifying as that is for a man, imagine being a woman.
Yeah, no, I can't.
And dealing with that.
I can't.
They have such a higher risk of STDs. You've got risk of pregnancy.
Yeah. I mean, we're not meaning to spend this whole podcast just talking about like the women we can't remember. But it is an interesting tangent that we got off on, because that is such a fundamental part of being a human being, is interpersonal connection. It's connectivity, right?
And when you don't remember
when you don't remember the connections you've made, if you don't remember these people who at this point in time in your life were super important. They were everything to you.
Yeah.
They were everything to you, and now you can't remember them.
Yeah.
Like I'm still wrapping my head around that, because I can remember random people from like junior high. You know what I mean? Like I remember this. There was this girl named Bobby Sue. There was this dude named Jason. There was another guy named John. And I wasn't friends with any of these people. I wasn't attracted to Bobby Sue, for instance. She was a lovely person. It just wasn't. So it's like, why can I remember them? Or like even like a clear mental image of them. But then there are these other people that I supposedly had this really intense connection with that I can't.
You can't remember.
Can't remember.
Yeah, because you were manic.
It fucking kills me. It kills me. It like, and this is going back to, that morality thing that we've talked about in the past. It's like now all of a sudden you're hating yourself and you're a bad person because you can't remember these people. And
right. You feel like you're some like douchebag fraternity Lothario.
Yeah. Ooh, Lothario.
Yeah, that's a great
that was a good word.
You like that?
Yeah, I love
Lothario?
that word. I've never used it. I don't think I've ever used it in a sentence. New goal. Keep going.
Shit, I forget what I was going to say now.
The connectivity between, like, you find these people that I'm trying to, like, elicit what you were trying to say.
Oh, I was going to say. Oh. Okay, I got it.
Was the word elicit? Is that what did it?
The worst part about it is those aren't even memories you can recover because your brain at the time refused to make a memory.
Right, they're gone.
Yeah.
It's
just gone.
And oh my God, that's fucking awful.
Have you ever lost more than a day?
Lost more than a day.
Where it's like, I can't remember the last couple of days. Because I've had that before. And that's really freaky.
I mean,
I've had to play detective on myself.
Right. So I've never had that. I've never had that like immediacy, like that idea that's like it's Wednesday and I don't remember Tuesday through Saturday. Like I've never had
I've had
that.
to go through like credit card receipts.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
shit.
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
like,
terrifying.
What did I do the past 2 days?
Wow. Now, did you said manic? You're usually manic.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was long periods of time. And I'm sure the sleep deprivation when you're manic does not help that.
Oh, of course not.
Because sleep is integral to the formation of memories.
Right.
And, when you're up for 7 days straight.
Yikes. Yeah. Yikes.
Your memory's not going to be great. And then you go into psychosis from the sleep deprivation.
Whee!
Yay! I love bipolar.
That's gonna be Trauma Scar's first hit single. Yeah. I love bipolar. God.
I love bipolar.
We have so many gifts. One day we're gonna figure out what they are.
It should be a death metal band.
Death metal band. and you won't remember us. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Oh, that's sad.
We've talked before about how being manic is like doing coke and Molly at the same time. And then sometimes you take a roofie.
Right. God.
It's like, it's just gone.
You know what? You know what else is kind of fucked? I'm just thinking about this, right? Like, we don't remember stuff, right? But because of the digital age that we live in, everything's recorded. Everything's recorded.
Yeah.
You could go into a manic episode, do some crazy ass shit, and someone catches it all on film.
Yeah.
And now it's up on the internet forever.
I saw a video yesterday. I was looking at our TikTok account and something came up. And it was a guy approaching a security guard. And the security guard was getting belligerent with him.
Oh.
And the guy was like, man, no, I want to apologize. Last time I was here, I was experiencing an episode. I'm schizophrenic.
Oh.
And I had to get my medication upped. And I just wanted to apologize to you for what happened last time.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was just kind of like a fascinating moment.
Yeah. Oh, God. And I bet you that schizophrenic episode was captured on video, too.
Probably.
Oh, my God. So you kind of see the whole full circle type of, that's a trip.
Yeah.
That's a trip because you go back and we've all had embarrassing moments in our childhood, right? That we were glad that social media wasn't a thing because you're like, oh, thank God that wasn't captured for all eternity. But kids today don't have that luxury, right?
Yeah.
And you add in the blackouts. And God, man, that's
you don't
sucks.
remember something, but a video of it's being shared.
But it's there. Yeah, but there it is.
How weird must that feel?
Oh my God, Yeah.
I
wonder if those. Wouldn't that be amazing if we could do like a security camera scan of us, like during, like, I know I don't remember June 25th through June 26th, and I could like go and like you just see Brad like running up and down the Vegas Strip. You're like, there I was.
Yeah. I mean, thank God that's something that's never happened, but that's common with manic episodes is people just disappearing to another city.
Yeah.
Actually, I say that, but I have done that before. I just remembered it.
Wow.
But like, imagine not remembering that. Imagine waking up in like a
Vegas.
penthouse in Vegas.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
I can't afford a penthouse in Vegas.
Yeah.
Damn. Am I a whale now? I hate not remembering things because as storytellers, and this is going to get artsy for a second, and I apologize for, you can just put your hands over your ears for the next 20 seconds. As storytellers, like, stories come from the memories that we take in, tangential leaps we often take from those memories, strong emotional connections that we have. Like, that's the basis of 90% of stories in the world, right?
Yeah.
And we can't remember some that we've had. There might be a great story in my past that I don't remember, or the opportunity for a powerful piece of art that you experienced that you just can't remember.
Yeah.
That's fucking heartbreaking. All the losses that the world's experienced, because we've talked about how bipolar people with mental illnesses are often creative types, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means bipolar people have forgotten more good ideas than they've probably ever had.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That really hurts.
Ouch.
Damn it. Oh, this podcast got depressing. I don't like it. I don't like this podcast anymore.
Those memory gap bullshit.
Do memory gap. Hopefully I won't remember this. No, we can't because it's being recorded. See?
That'd be great if like a week from now we were looking on our dashboard on Spotify for podcasters and we're like, Bipolar Blackouts. When did we do that?
Oh my God. Fucking meta as hell. Just a blackout during the blackout episode. Oh, man. I kind of wish we did do that. That'd be amazing. Fucking TikTok blowing up. People like, look at these idiots. And we could do a reaction video to our blackout.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, God. How stupid. We're stupid.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm super curious, the people who are listening, your blackout experiences. You don't have to get specific. This is not a place. It's not a venue for you to be like, yeah, well, this time I killed a guy. Like, you don't have to do that. But I'm curious to see who has experienced, like Brad, multi-day blackouts, like maybe difficulties remembering childhood, relationships, and whether or not you can pinpoint that to a trauma you might have that you might have experienced.
Yeah, and has anybody else had to play detective on themselves, or have you been told after one of these blackouts of something awful that you did that you do not remember?
Yeah. And what was the process you went through to discover that? And there's no judgment. Remember, there's no judgment on this show. We're really just curious of how you're dealing, how you might have dealt with it in the past, or how you're currently dealing with it.
We don't place a moral value on the things you do while you're sick.
No,
because you're sick.
Yeah,
and there's symptoms of being sick.
Yeah, and the fact again that you're trying to help yourself goes a long way towards, proof positive that just because you may have done some things that you regret in your life doesn't mean you're a bad person, that you're not trying to make yourself better.
Yeah, and it doesn't even it's a weird line. Because even the things you did because you were sick.
Right. Yeah, like if you puked on the school bus when you were in grade school because you had a fucking stomach bug and you puked all over, your friend or the bus driver.
Nobody's going to be like, look at this mess you made. You're such a pig.
You're such a pig. Yeah. You're like, I'm sorry, I puked,
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah, but you go out when you're bipolar and you're in a manic episode and you blow a bunch of money and sleep around.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, you fucking dirtbag.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be because you're sick and it's a symptom.
Can I tell a quick puke story?
Yes.
Okay, great. When I was in
Always.
I think I was in fourth grade and it was Valentine's Day. I remember this. This is one of the memories I have. Great memory. Valentine's Day. And I remember it was my job to bring in like the boom box for the class party we were going to have. You know what I mean? And like the end of the day, it was a Valentine's Day party. And I had a cough. It wasn't like a serious, like I wasn't sick. I was just kind of like every once in a while. But I had cough drops with me. And I remember being in class and being like, I don't know why I put so much stock into being the one who brought in the radio. But I was just like, guys, I brought it on. I'm like, I fucking brought in the radio. I'm the man, right? I had a cough. I took a cough drop. I happened to put the cough drop in my mouth as I was coughing, at which point I projectile vomited like all over the desk I was at. Like it went. Luckily, I wasn't sitting directly behind someone. It was like one of those weird, like you were in like a square type of desk arrangements. But I was like, oh, why do I remember that? But I can't remember some of the women that I've had relationships with.
Because that's a trauma scar.
It's a trauma scar. Gross. I don't even know how we got there. How did we get there?
Puking?
Yeah, we get to puking.
Yeah, we were talking about morality of being sick.
Being sick out of there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The morality of being sick.
Adam ruined Valentine's Day. Yeah, so please write in. Give us a voice memo. We're just curious. We want to have these conversations. You got to be able to talk about this shit. You can't talking about the morality of it. If you feel bad about it and you're not talking about it, then you're not relating to anyone else, which means they're feeling bad about it and they're not talking about it, and we're all just stewing in our own crapulence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you want to feel better and you want to help this community, talk about it and laugh about it. Some of this shit, I just talked about puking in my fourth grade Valentine's Day party. I mean, it's stupid and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, not one bit.
I doesn't, like, who cares? It in no way had an effect on my life in terms of, like, maybe I have a trauma scar from it, but it's not like I'm going to go in for a job interview and, a guy, Brian, who was in my class is going to be like, I remember you.
You puked on the bus.
And you were supposed to bring in the boombox. Fun story. I puked. I got sick. I think it was that kid, Brian, came down to the nurse's station because my mom came in and picked me up or whatever. And was like, we're going to hold on to your boombox. So that's our boombox until you come back to school. And I remember being like, oh, man, they're just using me from a boombox.
Did you ever get your boombox back?
Yeah, it was like a week later. And it was on radio stations I didn't listen to, which was not cool.
Like country?
No. It was like, I don't remember what it was at the time.
Adult contemporary?
Yeah, it was just a bunch of adult contemporary.
Like, why is everybody listening to Christopher Cross?
Is that why I'm not cool in grade school? Damn.
Everybody in grade school is listening to adult contemporary.
Fuck. Totally missed the boat on that.
These 7-year-olds really into Richard Marx.
Richard Marx. Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
Oh,
I love that.
We're almost out of time, and
Yes.
I have a Richard Marx story. Damn.
Well, we'll save that for the next
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Unless you black out and forget.
Yeah, I probably will.
Probably.
Probably will.
Thank you guys so much. We love you. Please write in. Follow us on social media. Share this podcast. Get other people listening. It's good for the community.
Write us at brad@batshit.com if you have a long email you want to send.
Yeah. We love you guys.